Even though UTSA is only in its 12th year of FBS football and 13th year of existence, they produce some serious talent, including 10 NFL players, 4 draft picks, a first rounder, and a potential future CB1 in the NFL. They're a winning team, both all-time and especially in the Jeff Traylor era, and none of that would be possible without all of the talent that's come through San Antonio. In this video, I'm going to attempt to create an all-time starting offense and defense made up of the best that's ever been in the Alamo Dome in a Roadrunners uniform. My name is Kevin. If you could like this video and sub to the channel, that would mean the world, blah blah blah, and let's get right into it. At quarterback, come on, everyone knows there's only one choice. I've got to give Dalton Sturm and especially Eric Souza some love, but it's Frank Harris by a mile. The dude has every UTSA passing record, and when I say every, I mean literally every passing record. He's a hometown lefty that fought through injuries for his first 3 years, but especially in the past 2 years, he's proved himself to be Mr. 210 himself. As of the recording of this video, he's entering his 7th season with UTSA, coming off of back-to-back conference championships and a personal conference USA MVP title. Coming into the AAC, he's planning on leading the Roadrunners to the same kind of success, and with his talent, why not? Same kind of situation at running back. Much respect to guys like Jarvian Williams and Jalen Rhodes, but it's Sincere McCormick. In 2020 and 2021, McCormick produced back-to-back 1,400-yard seasons and was the Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year both years. Dude was an explosive back that could cut and move with the best of them. And in 2022, he was picked up by the Raiders as an undrafted free agent. He's been dealing with injuries ever since, but there's no doubt about what he did at UTSA during his time there. Also, it deserves to be said, if current redshirt sophomore Kavorian Barnes keeps up at the hype and pace that he's going at and what he grew from for last season, Sincere might get bumped down to number 2, and I'm dead serious about that. And at wide receiver 1, 2, and 3, come on now, y'all know who I gotta pick. It's the three-headed monster of Zachary Franklin, Joshua Cephas, and DeCorian Clark. And the only real competitor in this spot I could see maybe getting in was Kerry Thomas, who was a dog back in the Frank Wilson era, but DeCorian Clark was on pace for a 1,000-yard season before his injuries last year, and even still, he's a sticky-handed receiver that produced more in 2 years than Thomas did in 3 as the primary target. As for the other two, Cephas is a 6'3" beast of a receiver who can beat you in the middle and on the outside, and Franklin is much of the same, just juiced up a little more. Aside from a couple of insane performances from DeCorian Clark, Franklin has almost every receiving record you could think of at UTSA. It's a shame he decided to transfer to Ole Miss, but it just goes to show you how talented the dude is. Now I know this has basically been the 2021 Roadrunners so far, but the tight end position is where it all ends. Kind of. At this spot, I have to put David Morgan in for 2 reasons. First off, he was a second-team All-American his final year of school and was one of the best blockers in the nation at tight end, according to PFF. And second, he produced in that season unlike any tight end has at UTSA. The only reason I said kind of at the beginning is because A, Leroy Watson is one of my favorite players of all time for his culture and heart he brought, and B, the current tight end Oscar Cardenas. Cardenas hasn't produced like Morgan did, but he has the most iconic catch in program history. And in this upcoming 2023 season, he's slated to do some big things. It should be one of those wait and see kind of deals, but for now it's David Morgan at the helm, but don't be surprised if in a year or two, Oscar Cardenas comes in and just takes that job. Now we're at the offensive line positions, and I definitely found some positions easier to pick than others. At left and right tackle, I have Mekhi Hart and Spencer Buford. Both were multi-year starters. Burford started 16 games in 2022 for the 49ers, and Hart was a vital piece of that 2021 team that kept Harris safe, and his absence in 2022 was extremely noticeable. At center, Ahofitu Maka. Dude is a 4-year starter, a perennial all-conference performer, including first-team all-conference last year, and at one point was one of the top centers in the entire nation and Remington watchlist player. And then for the guard spots, I had a bit of a harder time here, but I decided on Scott Inskeep and Terrell Haynes. Inskeep was, like Hart, regarded as one of the top interior linemen in the nation and led a 2013 O-line squad that did not commit a single penalty that year. And Haynes has started the past 2.5 seasons and has been a foundational piece at times when the Roadrunners really needed it, especially last year. Now on to the defense, and trust me, we'll get out of that trailer era bias here. Kind of. Sorry. They've had so many good plays, you know. So I decided to make this team a 3-3-5 since it's what the Roadrunners play now, and for another reason I'll get to later. But for now, we're starting with the D-line, and now that I have 3 spots instead of 4, it was definitely harder to bring down. But I think I did an alright job. We'll start with the obvious and talk about Marcus Davenport. He's the all-time UTSA sack leader, 2017 Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year and first teamer, and most notably, 2018 first-round pick by the New Orleans Saints at 14. Up until last year, he was the most notable UTSA football alumni, and he just signed a $13 million $1 deal with the Vikings. Dude was great with the Roadrunners, and he had a rough year last year, but he's been pretty good in the NFL. After him at defensive tackle, I'll take Jason Neal, the 2015 conference second teamer and the guy who's just behind Davenport on career sacks. And then at nose tackle, it's Brandon Brown, baby. He's only a junior coming into 2023, but he's already been a staple of the D-line for the past couple of seasons and was a first-team all-conference player last year. Linebacker spots actually came sort of easy to me. There's only really one spot I think people might have a problem with, and if they do, I totally understand. The first 2 guys I think are strongly secured into their spots for at least a couple of seasons here, and those guys are Clarence Hicks and Josiah Tauaefa. Hicks is the only player to record over 10 sacks in a season in 2021, and Tauaefa was an all-conference first-teamer that was with the New York Giants on and off from 2019 to 2022. Also, here's a fun little video about Tauaefa's favorite Six Flags ride.
Probably the Tornado. The Tornado is my favorite ride at Six Flags. Actually, I think it's called Roaring Rapids. It's like the roller coaster one that they just put in. That's a real good one. The waits were long, but it was a lot of fun.
Anyway, the final guy I chose to put in the linebacker position is Jamal Ligon. He's been a ball hawk for a couple of years now, and this coming 2023 season will only put the dude more on the map. Alright, and lastly here, I should mention that like Kavorian Barnes and Oscar Cardenas, current redshirt sophomore Trey Moore could take his spot there in due time. He came out guns a-blazing by getting a freshman All-American nod, breaking Marcus Davenport's school single-season record for tackles for a loss with 18, and having 8 sacks within there. And that's only his first full season in the FBS. And now onto the secondary, and here's why I put the defense as a 3-3-5. Starting with corner, it's only right and fitting to talk about Tariq Woolen first. There's so much I can mention about the guy. Former receiver turned corner who only switched during his junior year of college, ran a 4.26 40 at the combine, drafted 4th round by the Seattle Seahawks. Oh, I don't know. Got 6 interceptions and went to the Pro Bowl and almost got Rookie of the Year if not for one of the most stacked defensive classes of all time. Yeah, he only reached honorable mention status as a Roadrunner, but Reek the Freak will always live on as a legend in the hearts of UTSA fans. Me especially, if you couldn't tell. Okay. Opposite Woolen during both of his starting years, and the second corner here, we have to have Corey Mayfield Jr. Mayfield was more the skilled guy as he's 3rd in career interceptions with 7 and could always lock down the opposing team's best receiver. And then for the 3rd corner, I went with Clifford Chapman for 2 reasons. First, he was a first-team all-conference player in 2022 and had 5 interceptions that season. And second, he's kind of a tweener at 6'5", 190 pounds, so I figured if there's like a rover type position, I might as well have Chapman in there. And now finally, at safety, this was probably the easiest position to pick of all time, with Tristan Wade and Rashad Wisdom. Wade was probably the first big-name player to produce at UTSA and is the all-time career interceptions leader with 12. He was the soul of the early Roadrunners teams, just like Rashad Wisdom is today. Wisdom is basically a 5th-year starter and received back-to-back first-team nods before getting injured last year. Now in 2023, I think I'll just say he's an All-American watchlist kind of guy, and he's a force to be reckoned with going into his final year as a Roadrunner. And you know what? I'm kind of feeling it. Let's include special teams. Let's get Hunter Duplessis at kicker, Lucas Dean at punter, and only so I can show the clip, Chris Carpenter at returner.
Another chance here on the return. Big hole. No one will catch him. All the way to the house.
And there you have it. A lot of new, some old, a few borrowed, and all used to their greatest potential. I'll tell y'all two things, just like I've been doing all video. First, this team would honestly be insane to see all these guys in their primes, especially at the defensive side. But of course, secondly, as a true fan, I wouldn't trade any starting rotation we could ever have for the guys we have on the team right now. Because if not for those forerunners like Marcus Davenport or David Morgan, we wouldn't have guys like Brandon Brown or Oscar Cardenas stepping up and becoming better and better players. UTSA has got something special, and if there's anything you take away from this video, I hope it's that this is just the beginning. Thank y'all for watching.